why do you want to script your videos? Well, first and foremost, you don't want to waste your viewers' time, okay? That's literally the most important thing that scripting your videos will do, right? You're going to make sure that you have a plan and that you have points to touch on and hit so that you hit those exact points, those value points, right? So that you're giving them exactly what they came there for. If you wing certain things, you might potentially miss out on a key important point. There's been so many examples of times where I've winged something, just kind of doing it off memory, and I miss one crucial thing that I wish I would have put back in my video, right? And if I would have just had a little outline there that I could potentially look over to every once in a while and make sure that I hit home a point, right? Then I could just cut that lull out. I could take a break. I could say something, take a break, make sure to hit a point home, remember it, come back to the video, start speaking again, right? Then I can take a break and I can just cut those lulls out in my editing software and nobody would know. You don't want to waste your viewers' time. You want to make sure that you have a plan and have points to talk about. Now, don't get me wrong. You can wing certain videos, and if you're more comfortable winging videos, then by all means go ahead and try it and see what works for you best. And it depends niche to niche, obviously, in certain things. Certain videos can be done better winged. Like for example, tutorials. So every time I'll do like an online arbitrage tutorial, it's something that I know a lot about, and I can basically just show and demonstrate like the value of me actually going through the process, right? There's no way to really script that fully, so what I do is I wing it. That said, you want to make sure that you understand the concepts a lot if you are going to wing something like that, but the best example of something like I said to wing would probably be a tutorial. If you're just doing like a talking to the video type of thing like I'm doing right here, or you're doing like, you're standing in front of a camera and explaining something, the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, is have, at least if it's not a script or like a full out written thing like I keep referencing here, you want to at least make sure that you have little points like this to remember to bring up so that you hit those points home and you can make sure to give the most value in the shortest period of time possible. Another thing that I recommend that you do is simply cut the lulls out like we talked about, or things that aren't important. So if, for example, if I'm creating a YouTube video right now, right, and I go back and I put this actual raw video in my editor and I go through and I start editing it, I'm going to cut certain points out of this where I might stumble or, have different words that, don't come out correctly. Or, maybe I might have, a lull in the thing, or I might say something completely that's just a waste of 5 seconds. I'm going to cut that out because on YouTube, those little lulls matter. Now, for a specific course like this, obviously that matters in a certain degree, but I don't get graded on the watch time. I'm trying to give the most, raw related value piece that I can. I'm trying to communicate it as clearly and as authentically as possible so that you understand, right? But on YouTube, you need to do that, but you also need to focus on not having any lulls, not losing any audience retention, not losing the interest of the viewer, essentially, because it's a different platform, right? You're kind of trying to entertain in a lot of ways than, just create a course that's educational. So on YouTube, you really need to focus on cutting out your lulls. You don't want to waste the viewer's time, and that's a super, super, super important reason of why you should have a script, especially for YouTube videos. But on YouTube specifically, it's a major, major, major ranking factor for the algorithm, and you're going up against so many other videos, so you really need to take advantage of this if it's not like a tutorial. Now, another thing is, I've noticed personally that when I wing videos, if we're not talking about like tutorials, because obviously a tutorial, I don't have any specific examples of a tutorial that's winged versus a tutorial that's like not winged. But in general, if I'm doing like a talking to the camera type of thing, and I make sure to hit home points, and I make sure that I have a script, and I make sure that, number one and most importantly, that I do have a scripted intro, because that's the number one thing that you definitely need. You definitely need a scripted intro. The worst thing that you could do is try to wing an intro, because then you're not gonna be able to capture the attention as efficiently, right? You wanna have a plan, especially for your intro on YouTube. But one of the things that I've noticed, the videos that I have a plan for, especially with the intro, tend to perform a lot better than the ones that I just wing, or the ones that I don't edit as cautiously like that. So I know it's easy to just say this, but if you don't, if you're not sold on it yet, I would recommend that maybe you test out both and see what works for you. But chances are, I'm willing to bet that the scripted videos will perform a lot better than the unscripted ones because of all these points that I hit on. Now, lastly, I want to talk about giving more value to your audience in a shortened period of time. So the majority of people, and I love the quote basically where it's like, when everyone else zigs, you zag, right? Well, on YouTube, everyone's trying to capture attention, right? Everyone's trying to, game the system. Everyone's trying to accumulate that longer watch time. Everyone's trying, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm trying to say is everybody's trying to kind of clickbait and kind of drag the video on, right? If they clickbait you with like, the most important Instagram tip that you could do in 2019, right? Chances are they're not going to give you that tip until like, 8 to 10 minutes into the video, right? They're going to try to drag the video on and capture your watch time as long as possible, to then give you the tip so that they get good metrics on the video. And that's understandable. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And I suggest that you do that to a certain degree too. That said, sometimes when everyone else zigs, you want to zag. So instead of just, capturing attention or dragging the video on, which people literally hate, even though it hurts or helps that video's metric potentially, I would recommend that you just keep it simple. The reason being, if you have a script and you keep it simple and you give value, you give more value in a short period of time, people will remember that, right? And one of the things, these are two completely unrelated things, although it works for content or just general entrepreneurship. Two of the things that I've been reading really recently that have made a huge difference in the way that I perceive my business and the way that I perceive giving value to my customers, my audience, are the Thank You Economy by Gary Vee and Amazon Letters to Shareholders by Jeff Bezos. Obviously, it's literally like all the stuff that he ever wrote to Amazon shareholders about the strategy of the company from back in like 1997, I think, all the way up to obviously last year. And both things, the two general themes in both of these, which are crucial, is basically giving more to your customers, focusing on the long game, and letting that play out over time. The reason I'm telling you this is because if you focus on long term and giving your customers more value now in a shortened period of time, you might not necessarily accumulate that watch time or that, that audience retention, or you might not clickbait as well as other potential channels that you're competing against right now. But I promise you, people will remember that and come back to your channel and your videos as you being the person that gave them the most value and straightforward answers, and they will stick with you long term. So always play the long-term game, never play the short-term game, and when everyone else zigs, you zag, and that's the main reason why I suggest that you script your videos.